Welcome to Hello Downtown, a podcast by Downtown Sioux Falls.
This is Hello Downtown, the podcast where we explore the people, the places, and the pulse of our city's core. I'm your host, Brandon Hanson, and every episode we dive into the stories shaping life in the heart of Sioux Falls. So whether you're downtown every day or just downtown at heart, let's jump in. I'm joined with Mike Hart today. And Mike, you want to just do a quick introduction? I know you're the founder of Fresh Produce.
Yeah, actually the co-founder. Along with Ted Herron. He and I started Fresh Produce. We're a branding and marketing company located right in downtown over in the Gorley building at 6th and Main. We started back in 2004 and we're in our 21st year now.
21 years in downtown. Property owner, business owner, on all kinds of boards.
Yeah, super engaged. Everybody on the team is like really civically minded, and across our whole crew, we've got a lot of people that care passionately, not only about downtown, but just about Sioux Falls and this community.
Awesome. Well, welcome to Hello Downtown, our podcast. We're going to dive right in and hit you with a hard one right away.
All right. I think I'm ready.
Yeah. Why is downtown important?
Oh, why is it important? There's a ton of reasons. I could simply say that it's sort of the heartbeat of any community, but I think specifically for Sioux Falls, as it continues to become more and more vibrant, if you want to look at it from a practical standpoint, it drives an incredible amount of revenue and economic stimulus for our community. I think that it is sort of a gathering point, and everything sort of leads into this space and out from this space. Culturally, I think it houses a lot of the entities that are propelling the arts and culture movement forward for our community. And we're going to do a better job of getting that into every aspect of our community. But I think a lot of it happens downtown. But I could go on and on. But I think when you think about the economic impact that downtown has, as well as just the cultural role that it plays for our community, it's vital.
Yeah, well said. You are part of the Downtown Sioux Falls bid board.
Mm-hmm.
What is a bid? It stands for Business Improvement District, but what is that?
Yeah. Well, it's an area that there is a boundary, and within that boundary, all the property owners in that space invest in the bid, and that money is then stewarded over by currently Downtown Sioux Falls to make sure that we're just making this a more and more vibrant place. I said it's vital, and it is vital, but we want to continue to amplify the experience all the time. So those dollars that those property owners invest within the bid are then used to just amplify the experience downtown.
So is it an optional thing for people?
It is not. Well, that's not black and white. It is. For the people that qualify, it is not optional, but there are some exceptions. For example, nonprofits. I'll just use those as an example. The churches that are downtown within the bid, or other nonprofit entities, they do not pay into the bid. Or the city buildings, the public buildings that are already downtown, they do not pay into the bid. But all of the commercially owned buildings, for the most part, do pay into the bid and invest in downtown.
Yeah, this is not really a common topic or a common idea in the rest of Sioux Falls. There's not a business improvement district in the next neighborhood. How do we articulate this to the folks on the other end of town?
Well, I think, I'm not sure I totally agree with that. There are other things that are very similar. For example, everyone that comes, you've heard of the hotel tax or the bed tax. There are things like that where people visit our community, they pay an extra tax. That money then gets reinvested by Experience Sioux Falls or our CVB for a variety of different things. I would say that this is very similar. It's just that it's more geographically specific. But I think there are some certain things that we need downtown that maybe wouldn't be as relevant, like where I live out on the southeast corner of town.
Sure. And you've already talked a little bit about your role. You've kind of touched on a little bit in arts and culture and the importance of that. And so where do the bid services and just the idea of the bid intersect with arts and culture?
Well, that's really interesting. Okay, so if we're talking about how the bid sort of intersects with arts and culture, I think that it can. I think that we're already seeing a little bit of that in terms of some of the beautification that you see downtown as it relates to the big cement globe flower pots, things like that, or the flower pots that you see hung from the street lamps, some of the banners, other things that just experientially make it special downtown. I think there's even more opportunities down the road as we continue to lean into the new role. We have a Sioux Falls Arts Coordinator now, Maren Engel, and that Arts Commission, and as they continue to work on and think about the cultural plan for the city of Sioux Falls, and more specifically, what needs there are downtown. I do believe that there's probably opportunities for some of those bid dollars to be used to bring those ideas to life.
Can you talk a little bit more about the cultural plan? What is that?
Well, it's underway right now. The city of Sioux Falls they're working with a firm called Keen, and there is an opportunity for public input. There's a survey floating around right now. You can find it. And I encourage people to please take the time to go to that, let your voice be heard, participate in key interviews. There's been stakeholders. We're gathering surveys from across the community. All that information is going to be used to figure out, where are some of the cultural and arts deserts in our community? Where do we need to go? Where do we need to be present? What are the things that we really need to do to activate arts and culture, not just right now, but into the future for the community? Because as we continue to grow, it's going to be more and more important, and we want to make sure we stay ahead of it. So as it relates to downtown, again, this is vital, and there's already lots of arts and culture that are happening here through the things that exist, the Washington Pavilion, the Levitt, Sculpture Walk. I could go on and on. There's tons of things, and there's way more than that. But I think that there's just going to be more opportunities to, again, lift those things up as well as add more to it.
Yeah. And you as a marketing firm, Fresh Produce, you have approached creativity in a very unique way, in my opinion.
Thank you.
As far as marketing firms go. And we've talked about this a little bit offline here, but how you kind of lead with creativity versus sales.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that when you think about just marketing and advertising firms in general, they're probably on a spectrum, and we definitely want to pull down the creative side of that spectrum. Some of that is showing versus telling, and I think that through things like the Ipso Gallery, which is inside of Fresh Produce. So during the day, 8 to 5, people can come in and they can certainly enjoy the Ipso Gallery space. We do 5 art shows a year. So we're learning about creative process through that. We're celebrating creative process. We're getting inspired by it. And we're able to do shows that maybe challenge convention a little bit, do it a little bit different, get people exposed to new ideas. For example, the show Odds right now that's up, it's artwork from artists who they were at odds with that piece. They never felt like it got to a place where they loved it, but they were willing to sort of be, pull the curtain back and share that with the world. And you might look at it and think it's beautiful. So it's interesting to hear that sort of conversation between the artist who thinks, this just didn't get to a place where I feel fulfilled, and someone else who's like, oh, but I think that's beautiful. So we're always looking for ways to explore creative process.
That's incredible. You were a pretty big voice in bringing the Festival of Bands back downtown.
Yeah.
This just happened a couple of months ago. It used to be in downtown many years ago. What was the thought process? Why back downtown?
Well, there were a couple of things. I was in the marching arts when I was in high school. I was then, teaching it and certainly involved with it for many, many years. Took a little bit of a break when my kids were younger, but now my kids are involved again. And my daughter plays trumpet at Lincoln High School, and she was at Patrick before that. And I remember going to some of her early parades, and all of a sudden the Festival of Bands parade, when I did it, when I was in high school, it was downtown, and it was an iconic experience. It was special. You felt like you're in the heart of a city, the sound reverberating off the buildings. There was just something sort of special about that whole scenario. Well, then we're doing it out by Coval Lake, and I'm taking nothing away from Coval Lake, also a beautiful place in our community, but kind of an odd place for a parade. Yes, families would come there, but no one else was going to be there. It's not a gathering point for our city in that kind of way. And so I just started the dialogue. Well, hey, why is it out here? Why isn't it downtown? And found out that there had been a lot of construction. There were some very practical reasons why it moved, but we were able to get that conversation started again, brought it front and center, and were able to get it back down into again, the sort of the heartbeat, the cultural center of what I think our city is. And so for all those families that come to watch their kids march and play, now they get to experience downtown Sioux Falls too. And I think that's pretty special.
Yeah. And we saw tremendous uplift on the business side down here, foot traffic, but also sales. And so there was a big local supporter is really what the parades end up being, which is incredible. So I think the initial reaction might be, oh man, don't close the street down. But in reality, what happens is thousands and thousands of people get flooded into downtown who maybe weren't exposed to downtown before. And they realize, oh my gosh, there's a new business. There's a new, nail salon or what have you down here.
Yeah. And just to high five downtown Sioux Falls a little bit here, I think connecting the dots between those visitors and all of the business owners and residents downtown, you guys did a wonderful job of helping bridge that gap for the Festival of Bands Committee and making sure that people were aware of the opportunities so that business owners could take advantage of those visitors in a good way. And it was a really positive experience all the way around. So a big thank you to downtown Sioux Falls for connecting those dots.
It's kind of you, but it's actually our job. That is what we're supposed to do every day. So, let's bring it back to the bid a little bit. What opportunities do you see for the bid to evolve or expand as downtown continues to evolve, expand, and grow?
Yeah. Well, first off, I would say it needs to be an ongoing conversation. It does need to expand. We need to continue to invest in the experience downtown, like you just talked about. And to do that, I think there's going to be a lot of things that we need to look at. Well, maybe not a lot, but certainly a few key things. First off, what is considered downtown? I mean, at some point we look at the boundary as it exists today, but we all know it is growing. There's more happening along Minnesota Avenue. We're starting to push to the east. There's lots of things happening in and around Falls Park. So what is the boundary and what is actually considered downtown? And then within that boundary, there's some places that are more densely commercial, that are some places that are more residential. Well, how do people participate regardless of what kind of entity they are, and to what degree do they invest in it, and what degree do they get services? Those are all things that we're going to have to sort through as we continue to grow. But I hope that there's a future where that footprint is expanded and everyone's role within that footprint is, equitable and inclusive and fair.
So what's one thing that you would want a new property owner to understand about the bid and how maybe they would see and view that downtown investment? I think as a new person coming in and hearing, I have to pay more to just be in this imaginary boundary, it can be a barrier for some people. So what would you want them to understand about it?
Well, I think first, understand that I really do. I guess if you distill it down to its simplest form, it is a tax, but really it is an investment. So first off, look at the formula, look at the calculation. I mean, it's not an impossible bar to leap over. It is a reasonable amount of money. But if you think of it as an investment and what you benefit from in terms of that ambassador program and the way that they are creating this experience downtown, the cleanliness, the fact that you can call somebody up anytime if you're like, hey, I noticed that there's a big pile of leaves in my parking lot or out on the sidewalk, or I noticed that there's a pothole. I mean, there's just so many ways that you can engage that program to make your facility and your facade and what you care about a little bit nicer and safer. I think that if they were paying for that on their own, they'd be paying more. So I think it's a legitimate investment for just the vibrancy of downtown. And when that experience is lifted up and it's better for everybody, it truly is better for everybody. It just makes the value of properties go up. I mean, you can command more in terms of rents. There's going to be more foot traffic for whatever your business is, if that's the kind of traffic that you need. Everybody wins when they invest in the bid.
Yeah, that's really well put. I love your perspective on it as an investment. When you look back, when you're old and gray, more gray.
I mean, grayer than I am now. That might be impossible. Yeah,
just a lot older, maybe more experienced. What do you hope downtown looks like? What do you hope? What kind of mark do you hope that you've left on it, and just on our whole community as well?
Well, first off, just a word of encouragement for the the people that are here, and it doesn't matter how old you are. One of the things that I love about Sioux Falls, and specifically downtown Sioux Falls, is that I feel like we are going through our renaissance. This town right now is at an interesting stage where it's figuring out what it's going to be when it grows up. and people can really be on the cutting edge and the front edge of whatever it is they're passionate about, whether that's social change, arts and culture, starting a business, economic drivers. All those things are on the table, and there's just so much opportunity right now. So I'm excited about that. I want to continue to participate in that. I love the role that Fresh Produce plays in downtown through Ipso Gallery, and the other things that our crew is involved in from a philanthropy and or just engagement standpoint. All those things I'm excited about. There is a part of me that hopes that when my kids leave the nest, that my wife and I can move downtown. And I'm not just saying that to placate you. We are seriously considering it, and that's a few years away. But you can hold me to it. We'll see if it happens. But there's a lot of dialogue at home right now about actually living and working downtown, which I think would be a blast. So that is a hope.
I love that. I'm not a landlord, so you're not placating me, but I love it. This whole live, work, play model is really quite special when you can walk downstairs and go to Pomegranate Market now, and you don't have to, you don't even need a car in some cases, which is just actually incredible. This environment is built for human beings.
Yep.
Not for machines or vehicles. I mean, it's just pretty cool. The community that's built down here.
Yeah. And I hope it becomes more and more like that. I mean, I think that's in terms of the visioning, connecting the to the east side, continuing to make it more pedestrian friendly. All of those things will be relevant as we continue to elevate that experience downtown.
Couldn't agree more. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Mike.
Yeah. And I really appreciate the invite. Thanks for letting me be a part of it.
You're listening to Hello Downtown, a podcast by Downtown Sioux Falls.
Welcome to Hello Downtown. I'm here with Anita Wetch.
Good to see you, Brandon.
Good
Thanks
to see
for
you
inviting
too.
me.
You're the real estate guru. 605 Real Estate. What other titles do you have?
Well, I mean, wife, mother, community volunteer, but downtown is kind of my jam. It's a place that I've loved since I moved to this community like 40 years ago. So that role has changed over time. It started as more of a corporate role, playing more corporate roles, serving on boards. But for the last 12 years as a real estate agent, it's been really fun watching downtown develop into a real community to market to. And people get excited about being here.
That's incredible. Yeah. And you left the DTSF board about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just about a year ago at this point in time. But you've stayed involved and active on the BID board, which is the Business Improvement District board.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe what a business improvement district is?
Right. So sometimes it can be confused because the term BID gets used for other things, but specific to downtown, it's a business improvement district, that it's a special assessment to the downtown property owners to really support other elements that the downtown needs. And so specifically in Sioux Falls, it is built around safety and cleanliness and a lot of the things that create the experience of downtown that most people don't really understand. And all of that is really leveraged through the BID and supported by the property owners of downtown. And they pay the tax to help elevate downtown to where it is today.
Someone who's just coming downtown, a visitor or resident, what would be something that they would maybe notice day in and day out that's provided by that BID?
So it's Christmas. So it's a really good time to talk about that right now. Because one of the things is, really all of the lights that run down Phillips Avenue and a lot of the programs that support kind of that Christmas feeling, that's a big thing that you're feeling right now. I think what you would see more visibly, although it's here year round, is really the ambassador program. So when you see men and women in red shirts and little red vehicles scooting all through downtown, doing a number of things, they're really the host and hostesses of our downtown community. And so I would say visibly, those are two things that, certainly the ambassadors are something that people visibly see a lot in the summertime. But right now, when I look out, I'm looking at all the Christmas lights and decorations and things too. And I know that the Clean and Green program plays a lot in that as well. So.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned the Parks Department, but it's pretty often that our world blends into the city
Right.
in their world, in the parks department or the streets department. And so this is it's a very unique concept to have all that overlap,
Right. I think a lot of people don't understand that we do some subcontracted services for the city that is more efficient consolidation of resources and efforts. And you probably could climb further into the detail of that than I can. But, I think of things like trash, like ornaments and decorations and things like that. But yes, there's a lot of things that we're always working alongside the city to try to find the most efficient way and the best way, because a downtown community can be perceived very differently if those things aren't taken care of.
Absolutely. Yeah. We travel to other downtowns often. We are part of the International Downtown Association. The problems that folks are dealing with in other downtowns are just so different.
Right.
We're, for a lot of respects, are way ahead of the game. And a lot of that came from some of the work you were part of on the bid board. Our business improvement district, the assessment you were talking about, the funds were relatively small a couple of years ago. So can you talk about what happened to change that a few years ago?
So this was during my tenure on the board, on the DTSF board, and I got the opportunity to work in some strategic planning and, really kind of climbing into and understanding where our city was about to go to with the opening of the Sharapa 2 development and the Steel District development, and realizing that when you started taking a look at the statistics of how we compared to other places like Rapid City and Fargo and Des Moines and Omaha, that we were significantly underfunded compared to some of those other communities, yet we were trying to perform services for a rapidly growing urban area in our city. And that if we were just about to hit the wall, we were about to smack right, deep into the wall of not being able to give downtown what it needed in this growth state that it was in. And so the conversation started in terms of what was the one big thing that needed to be done? What was the systemic change that had to come? And it was really through trying to change a 38-year-old funding allocation assessment that had been an attempt to change it, I think roughly 18 to 20 years ago. And that attempt failed at council. And I wasn't involved at the time, so I really, can't speak to the details of that. But we knew going in that we were going to have to show the downtown property owners the benefit of what we were currently doing, kind of the comparison to these other cities and how we really were overworking our current resources. And then to talk about what was already on the books and construction, cranes in the air, and all of this development that was to come, along with a growing safety issue, which we were all acknowledging kind of post-COVID, that, things were going to be different. And we as a community we're going to have to tackle our safety issues as well. So yes, I was the chair as we brought that initiative forward, worked alongside, a great group of people within city government, within DTSF staff, to get that done. And it wasn't as difficult of a sell as I expected going in, because I think the downtown community had ridden that growth wave of most of them of the last 20 years, and knew that we needed to take a step. So there were a lot of conversations with the property owners of if they were to give us those additional funds, those additional assessment dollars, what we would do with them. And at that point in time, the ambassador program was being piloted. So they had started to see a couple of guys and girls in red shirts, started to see the impact that those were able to make. And I think we're excited about the idea of expanding that. So probably the most visible impact, positive impact that we heard as kind of on the other side of getting the assessment allocations changed was a big thank you from the downtown community for the ambassador program.
I think you're spot on. I want to go backwards a little bit and dig a little further into the real estate mind of Anita, because you are really a guru. And so let's just connect the dots a little more directly. And so, how does a well-maintained street environment and an ambassador program translate directly into real estate value?
Well, certainly, when a consumer evaluates a neighborhood, there's certain things that are on their list. And for downtown, the list maybe shifts around a little bit than a more of a suburban neighborhood. Um, Safety is something that it's interesting because, there's really a couple of different types of people that are buying in downtown Sioux Falls. There's what I would call kind of Sioux Falls natives or South Dakota natives that have their own sort of definition of safety. But we also have had a lot of transactions that are people coming from other states or, other larger communities. And so they come in with the perception that Sioux Falls is just safe, and so their perception might be a little bit different, but, safetiness, cleanliness, access to services. So things that have been happening over the last few years, like Ace Hardware and Lewis Drug and Sanford, and now recently Pomegranate Market and Sunshine, the things that you use every day that you don't want to have to jump in a car and go access to, are I think, an important lift that downtown has seen that people want to live down here. Dog parks, the Jacobson Park Plaza development, and certainly, the buoyancy of like the dining scene and our cultural, impact that we have on the area. So, I mean, it varies. It's different for each buyer, as everything is. But the good news is that Sioux Falls hasn't left out a category. I mean, it seems like there's progress that's been made in all of the categories that a downtown buyer is really looking for, except for maybe this weather. We could maybe be a little bit warmer, but
I love it.
But then you've got the Steel District that has skywalks, that connect you to 5 or 6 restaurants. And so like everybody's kind of coming up with, the Sioux Falls version of what that looks like. But it's been really great to talk about all of the amenities of downtown. And truly, you could probably do 95% of what you needed to do to live on a day-to-day basis and walk it from downtown. So
Absolutely.
and that's come with
really
the
not.
investment of some of these big, corporate partners and like I said, people like Ace Hardware, Lewis and Sanford, and they all took a risk by bringing something that's normally driven primarily by rooftops, because it's really all about, the shopping aspect of it. So our downtown community has reached that tipping point where it's here.
I love that. Yeah. And our resident population is getting close to 5,000 now.
Right.
I think that's one of the key factors that is going to be really important going forward in the next decade, maybe, of kind of stabilizing some of the volatility that retailers feel and small businesses. It's that Monday through Thursday foot traffic that residents provide and the workforce provides. We can rely on the visitors on the weekend pretty significantly, but making living in downtown a priority is so important if we care about these businesses and the quality of life. And so any trends from the real estate lens that we should be thinking about?
Well, certainly, I mean, with COVID, we saw such a huge shift. Like you said, it's a balance of what each of the stakeholders bring to the equation, what the downtown residents bring, what the office, the retail, the workforce of downtown brings, what the visitors bring. And it's a delicate cycle, especially when you're growing as much as we're growing. And these developers are investing their funds to add, all the apartments and amenities that they're adding. And so in COVID, we saw a real downshift in, work from home. And so, again, I think, kind of continuing that return to work, getting that Monday through Thursday group it's better than it used to be, but I'd say there could still be maybe a little bit of progress there. I know that apartment occupancy is doing really well downtown. People want to live down here. And so it's become the choice of not just the young, but even people who are in transition, who maybe for whatever reason don't need to buy or are downsizing and not sure what they're going to do next, but they're like, oh, let's live downtown for a while. That would be different and fun. And so I think there's been a lot of encouragement on people wanting to live downtown in that rental space. And so truly, we hope that all of that equates to strengthening the retail base, because that's a struggle point right now in every community, is the support of local retailers. And so, if I wanted to give one big plug today, it would be, especially now in this Christmas season, shop downtown, buy local, eat out at your favorite restaurant. I mean, they need us now more than ever. And so it's here for you. Let's make sure it stays here. And the only way that we make sure that we keep a strong, vibrant retail community downtown is to support it. And so that's why we love Burger Battle, because you come into one of the coldest, darkest months of our year, and everybody just wants to hibernate because it's cold and it's wintry. And, this concept of the Burger Battle came in, and what was last year's economic impact?
It was over $3 million.
$3 million.
3.27. Yep.
I would, nobody's going to step up to the mic and say this, but I would bet for a lot of those restaurant retailers, that was the lifeline that they needed in a month that was probably one of the hardest months, for them. So that's the kind of stuff as a community that we just always have to keep reminding ourselves, is that it stays nice if we keep it nice. It stays nice if we support it.
Yeah.
And, and downtown especially, this is where we draw our visitor traffic from. This is, it passed the Empire Mall a long time ago. Like, this is where what people want to be. So we have an obligation as the rest of us to kind of help keep that going too. And then our visitor industry will stay strong in Sioux Falls.
It's a great place to wrap up here.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming on to Hello Downtown, Anita. It's been enlightening. You are listening to Hello Downtown, a podcast by Downtown Sioux Falls Incorporated. I'm Brandon Hansen.
I'm Taryn Sietsema with Downtown Sioux Falls. Here is today's member moment. Hello, everybody. I am joined today with Kelly Grosjean from MK Threads Boutique right here in downtown Sioux Falls. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Are you ready to get at it?
I am.
Okay, question 1. Describe your business in 5 words or less.
Okay, I would say we are affordable, fashion, and unique.
Love it. Question 2, this or that, Riverfest or Parade of Lights?
That one's tough because I like summertime. I don't like winter, but Parade of Lights has to win out just because I can watch it from the front window.
Right. Well, there is that too. Okay. Summer patio drinks or winter cozy cocktails?
I like both, but I would have to pick summer because there's nothing like spending a day downtown, walking around, hopping in and out of the breweries, listening to all the music that they have, going down to the Levitt, walking down by the falls. Yeah, it would.
For real.
Yeah.
For real. Question 3, what's your go-to downtown guilty pleasure? A coffee drink, snack, hidden gem, or little routine you can't resist?
So probably 3-4 times a year, we get a group of friends together and we do a brewery crawl. So we stop at all the breweries and pop in and out. Like we'll go to Tommy Jack's and play darts, and we'll go to Pave and play some darts, and we'll sit on a patio and have a few light bites to eat. And that's my guilty pleasure. I absolutely love doing that.
That sounds like so much fun. Question number 4. If downtown Sioux Falls had a mascot, what would it be?
Well, duh, it'd be a bison, but we absolutely have to put some fashion on it. So either a couple pierced ears or a scarf, something stylish.
Okay, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, last question, number 5. For people walking into your business for the first time, what's one key thing they should know about your business?
That we are there to help them feel confident about walking out the door. We are affiliated with House of Color. We are their retail affiliate, and we know how to dress someone with color. A lot of women are really afraid of that. So we always emphasize that we can get them feeling comfortable with color. And I always tell my staff, we don't need a sale bad enough to send someone out looking poorly. So we've got to make sure that they look great and they feel very confident in their outfit before we are worried about making that sale.
So it's an empowerment. I love that.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Kelly. I appreciate you coming in today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Hello Downtown.